You awaken to the clinking of chains. In the darkness, the stone beneath your body feels so frigid it almost burns. And when you attempt to move, cold iron shackles dig painfully into your wrists. You're no longer in the hillside village where you once chased goats and helped your mother grind grain. That life ended 3 days ago, when the slave traders swept through your settlement like a swarm of locusts, choosing their prey with expert eyes. Your name was Kyle, a simple Celtic name your father gave you after his own father, but that name vanished the moment rough hands tore you from your family's hut. Now, you are considered property, nothing but an item to be inspected and priced. The man inspecting you speaks in clipped Latin, his voice cold and businesslike. He runs his fingers through your hair as if testing the quality of silk, then lifts your chin to examine your bone structure beneath the flickering torchlight. This one will do well, he tells his companion, a Greek man with sharp, calculating eyes, who nods and makes marks on a wax tablet. Celtic lineage always fetches high prices, he says. Look at that coloring, like spun gold, and young enough to be trained properly. You do not understand every word, but the tone is familiar. It is the same evaluation you once heard when your father sold livestock at the market, the same appraisal of worth and potential. Now, however, you are the livestock, and the market is the relentless hunger of Rome for beauty to own, dominate, and consume. The journey to Rome quickly turns into a nightmare, filled with cramped wagons, meager meals, and the constant presence of other children who share your grim fate. Some weep endlessly, while others have withdrawn into a silence so deep it feels as if they have died while still alive. Among them, the few who scare you the most have already started to adjust, picking up Latin phrases from the guards and attempting to gain favor through small acts of obedience. Yet the full horror emerges only when you arrive at Rome's slave markets. This is not the chaotic frenzy you might have imagined. The markets, especially those trading in what the Romans call delicati, or delicate ones, function with the precision of a military operation and the elegance of an art exhibition. Before delving deeper into these overlooked tales of endurance and hardship, if you appreciate uncovering hidden historical truths, please consider pressing the like button and subscribing for more videos like this. Also, write down in the comments where you are watching from. I find it amazing that we are exploring these ancient stories together from all corners of the world, united across time and space by our shared desire to understand the past. Upon arrival, you are first bathed, scrubbed until your skin shines pink, then anointed with fragrant oils that make you smell like flowers you have never encountered. Your hair is then trimmed and styled by a man whose hands move with the practiced skill of someone who has prepared hundreds of boys for sale. They dress you in a plain white tunic that highlights your youth and purity. This outfit is crafted to awaken particular desires in prospective buyers. The examination procedure is systematic and degrading. Buyers gather around you like predators assessing their prey, discussing your strengths and weaknesses in voices that completely disregard your humanity. They check your teeth as if you were an animal, scrutinize your skin for imperfections, and measure your limbs with the meticulous care a sculptor devotes to marble. Some speak to you in broken Celtic to see if you follow commands, while others focus on your emotional reactions, how you respond to touch, whether you flinch or surrender, if tears come easily, or if you have already learned to conceal them. Marcus Lucas is the one who ultimately purchases you. He is in his 40s, slightly soft around the waist from a comfortable life, with keen eyes that miss nothing. He inspects you with the precision of a connoisseur, running his hands over your arms and shoulders, tilting your face toward the light to examine your features from different perspectives. When he talks to the dealer, His voice holds the effortless dominance of someone used to obtaining whatever catches his interest. "How old is she?" he asks, though he clearly has already made up his mind. 12, maybe 13, the dealer replies. "Young enough to train properly, old enough to be intriguing, and just look at that bone structure. She will age beautifully for several years before you have to reconsider." The casual mention of your eventual fate strikes you like a harsh blow. You are not merely being sold into slavery. You are being handed over to a system that has a predetermined expiration point. Your value will inevitably decrease, and your usefulness will come to an end. Yet, this fact seems less shocking compared to the dawning realization of the exact role you are expected to play. The transaction is completed with the same routine efficiency as purchasing bread. Money exchanges hands, ownership documents are signed, and all at once you belong entirely to Marcus Lucas, just as fully as his toga or sandals. Marcus does not address you personally, since slaves are not worthy of direct conversation, but instead gives directions to a finely dressed older man. This man will supervise your transfer to your new residence. The villa that becomes your entire world is more magnificent than anything you could have imagined in your homeland. Gleaming marble floors, detailed with complex mosaics, walls adorned with scenes inspired by mythology, and gardens boasting exotic plants that fill the air with intoxicating scents, all combine into an almost dizzying beauty. Still, this splendor turns ominous once you understand it is set up as the backdrop for your captivity. Every exquisite detail forms part of a grand theatrical stage where you must perform a role you never chose. Your education starts immediately. The individual in the charge of your training is named Alexandros. He is a former favorite who has matured into a position of relative stability by becoming indispensable in the management of his master's collection of beautiful boys. He is not unkind, yet his kindness feels restrained by the detached demeanor of someone who has mastered survival through avoiding emotional bonds with those destined to be replaced. The master enjoys stimulating dialogue, he says, as he lays out your daily agenda. You will engage in Greek philosophy, Roman poetry, basic arithmetic, and musical training. Your physique must remain attractive, so your diet will be strictly managed, and you will bathe twice every day using oils that ensure your skin stays soft. Most crucially, you will be taught etiquette, how to walk, how to sit, how to lower your gaze at the appropriate moment, and how to appear engaged without seeming to truly listen when the master converses about business with his visitors. The lessons are thorough and demanding, with mornings devoted to language training, not only Latin and Greek, but also the nuanced variations in tone and word choice suited to different social classes. You will understand that there are particular ways to address senators instead of merchants, special phrases that convey respect without sounding obsequious, and careful voice inflections that display intelligence without undermining your master's intellectual dominance. The afternoons focus on cultural studies, where you will commit extensive portions of poetry to memory, not simply because some lines are beautiful, but because you may be expected to perform them for your master's amusement. You will also explore the myths behind the artworks adorning the villa, learning to converse knowledgeably about cultural subjects. The symbolic meanings are presented carefully, avoiding any interpretation that might make you appear overly intellectual. Independent music lessons follow, and here you find a small sanctuary. The instrument responds to your touch with sounds that briefly carry you beyond the marble walls. Each day, for a few moments, you can lose yourself in melodies whose sole purpose is their own elegance. However, even this refuge becomes compromised when you realize that every piece you learn is selected for its potential to please your master's ears during private moments. Physical conditioning is another vital aspect of your training, yet it differs greatly from any exercise you have known. There is no aim to build strength or stamina. Instead, every effort is dedicated to preserving the soft and androgynous beauty your master valued. At the market, your diet is carefully regulated to prevent muscle growth that might mark your progression into manhood. Herbs are mixed into your meals. Oils are massaged into your skin, and treatments are given by physicians specializing in maintaining a youthful appearance. The psychological conditioning proves subtler and more devastating than the physical regimen. Slowly and systematically, your trainers dismantle your sense of independent identity. Your birth name is forbidden. You are now called Ganymede, after Zeus's beautiful cupbearer. Memories of your home are dismissed as irrelevant fantasies, and your previous life is described as a dream, fading into nothingness. From the moment you awaken to your true existence, a deceptive reality takes hold. You are taught that your worth as a person rests solely on your ability to satisfy your master. Success means preserving beauty, youth, and flawless obedience. Failure is not just punishment but total insignificance. This message is constantly enforced through rewards for compliance and subtle yet clear warnings against defiance. The other boys in the household become both friends and rivals. There's Kyle, a Syrian boy with dark eyes, who arrived 6 months before you and has mastered the system with alarming expertise. He demonstrates how to apply makeup to enhance your natural features, teaches you the specific ways your master prefers his wine prepared, and cautions you about questions and topics to avoid. Then there is Dionysios, a Greek boy who has been in the household for 3 years. He moves through the villa like a shadow, striking yet somehow distant. He obeys commands perfectly, but lacks any sign of a unique personality. The other boys whisper that he represents what happens when someone fully submits to the system, still operational, still valued, but no longer fully human. Your first private summons comes 3 weeks after your arrival. Alexandro spends the whole day preparing you, choosing the ideal tunic to highlight your slender figure and styling your hair to catch the light of the lamp. Applying delicate makeup that subtly enhances your youth without looking artificial, he guides you on proper conduct, how to enter a room, where to position yourself, how to react to commands without appearing overly eager or hesitant. He reminds you as he makes final touches to your appearance. You exist for my pleasure. Your thoughts, feelings, and desires are irrelevant. What matters is that you fulfill whatever I need in this moment. Sometimes that means conversation, other times silent companionship, or even more intimate service. Your role is to anticipate his needs and provide them before he has to ask. The walk to your master's private quarters feels interminable, though it is merely the length of a corridor. Your bare feet do not make a sound on the marble floor, but your heart beats so loudly you feel certain everyone in the villa can hear it. The guards at the entrance step aside without acknowledgement. You are not important enough to deserve their notice. Suddenly, you find yourself alone with the man who owns you utterly. Marcus Lucas lounges on a couch wrapped in silk, a cup of wine in one hand, scrolls spread around him, suggesting he has been reading. He has removed his formal toga and wears a simple tunic, yet this casual attire does nothing to reduce his authority. In fact, the intimacy of the setting only emphasizes his power. "Come here, boy," he commands without lifting his eyes from the scroll, his tone neither harsh nor gentle, simply matter of fact. In fact, the manner he might use to summon a servant or command a dog is startlingly similar. You approach cautiously, uncertain about how near he wants you to come, stopping just beyond his arm's reach until he signals for you to step closer. "Turn around," he orders, and you comply, moving slowly so he can inspect you from every angle. His gaze evaluates you with the same meticulous care he demonstrated at the slave market, observing the results of weeks of meticulous grooming and training. When he finally nods in approval, a confusing mix of relief and shame washes over you. You are thankful to have passed his scrutiny, yet horrified that your value depends entirely on whether you meet his aesthetic standards. Alexandra's voice breaks the silence. "You're learning quickly," he remarks, setting down his wineglass and focusing all his attention on you. "Recite something for me, something Greek. I'm feeling philosophical." You start with a passage from Plato's Symposium, chosen not only for its beauty, but because you have memorized it flawlessly. As you speak, you carefully watch his face for any sign of approval or disapproval, adjusting your tone according to his reactions. When he smiles softly at a particularly graceful phrase, a sudden wave of pride rushes through you. This feeling, however, immediately turns to disgust. You realize you are beginning to derive pleasure from his satisfaction exactly as your training was meant to instill. "Lovely," he comments once you finish. "Your accent needs work, but that will improve over time. Sit beside me, but no closer. I want to feel your warmth," he adds. The next hour slips by in a peculiar kind of intimacy, one that feels unlike any other. The connection with any relationship you have encountered feels striking as you remain perfectly still while he reads, occasionally running his fingers through your hair absent-mindedly, like one might stroke a beloved pet. Sometimes he reads passages aloud, testing your understanding with questions that challenge both your intellect and your training. When your answers satisfy him, his touch grows more tender, but if you fail to grasp something, his attention fades. You come to fear that loss of focus more than any physical discipline. This routine shapes your entire new existence. Days dedicated to training and preparation, evenings spent responding to whatever kind of companionship your master desires. Occasionally, these are intellectual conversations about philosophy or poetry, where your role is to stay interested without ever contradicting him. At times, it is purely ornamental, serving as a living proof of his sophisticated taste and vast wealth while he hosts guests. Other times, it turns more intimate in ways your former life never prepared you to understand. You realize your body, like your mind, exists solely for his enjoyment. The luxurious room, the elite education, the meticulous grooming are all elements of a system intended to transform you into a more satisfying possession. You are not a person who has been owned. You are an object designed explicitly for his use. The psychological effect is far more shattering than any physical mistreatment. Gradually, you start losing track of where your own identity ends and his control begins. The end of your performance marks the beginning of your true self. The habits you developed to satisfy your master become second nature. The interests he has nurtured within you begin to feel real. Most unsettling of all, you find yourself genuinely caring for the man who has taken away your freedom and shaped you to meet his desires. Other boys in the household have discovered various methods to endure. Alexis has turned into a skilled manipulator, expertly playing on their master's emotions to secure a relatively safe position. He quietly shares secrets about managing their master's moods and subtle tricks to inspire generosity, along with ways to stay valuable even as physical beauty dims. During a rare moment of privacy, he reveals that the key is to become indispensable for more than mere appearance. Learning the master's business ventures allows you to offer valuable advice. Becoming adept at running the household ensures the master relies on your competence. Building connections with important guests increases your social worth. Though beauty fades with time, usefulness can endure for many years. Dionysius embodies a different way to survive: complete surrender. He has erased his own identity so fully that he seems devoid of desires, fears, or hopes. He obeys commands flawlessly, provides whatever service is asked, and exists in such total submission that resistance appears impossible in some. He often appears scornful, but his true calmness is the tranquility of death rather than life. You strive to find a balanced path between Alexis's calculated control and Dionysius's spiritual self-destruction. You carry out your duties skillfully, yet you try to hold on to some inner core of identity that remains unaffected by your situation. This proves more challenging than you had anticipated. The system is structured to make resistance not only hard, but also nearly impossible to comprehend. When every facet of your existence relies on satisfying your master, and your sense of self-worth is reconstructed around his approval, the very idea of independent thinking feels foreign. Months turn into years, and your body shows the earliest subtle signs of emerging adulthood. A voice growing deeper that must be masked through careful breathing, muscle growth demanding stricter diet controls, and facial hair requiring daily removal. Each transformation stirs anxiety about your ongoing usefulness and value. The household's dynamics evolve as new boys arrive while older ones disappear. You observe the entire cycle: the terror experienced by newcomers, their gradual adjustment to harsh conditions, the cautious jockeying for status and favor, and, ultimately, the unavoidable dismissal once youth can no longer be hidden. Some boys are sold to other homes. Some are freed with small pensions, and a few simply vanish without any explanation. You form complicated bonds with your fellow captives, where true friendships blend with rivalry and guardedness. Fierce rivalry blends with mutual aid. Both of you live under the constant understanding that anyone could be sacrificed to safeguard the other's status. You exchange methods for enduring hardship, alert each other to your master's shifting temper, and offer solace during those unavoidable spells of hopelessness. Yet, you still compete for favor, because being the chosen one guarantees improved treatment and heightened safety. The world beyond your villa exists but seems mostly irrelevant to your daily life. Stories about military campaigns, political shifts, and social transformations reach you, but they feel as remote as ancient legends. Your universe has contracted to the villa's limits, and your worries focus solely on staying alive within that enclosed realm. Occasionally, fragments of your past life emerge suddenly. The scent of freshly baked bread might evoke memories of your mother's kitchen, or a merchant's accent may recall your father's voice. These flashes cause unbearable pain, forcing you to quickly shut them away and instead concentrate on the harsh reality shaping your existence. Your master grows older too, but more slowly and comfortably compared to his belongings. Gray threads appear in his hair, fine wrinkles form around his eyes, and his physique gains bulk as prosperity continues. These transformations do not endanger his position or security. In fact, They add to his dignity and social influence. Age grants him wisdom and admiration, while it brings something else entirely to you. Only the looming conclusion of your usefulness sparks a peculiar urgency in your everyday life. The understanding that your time is finite transforms each successful performance into a brief reprieve from fate. Every indication of your master's ongoing approval becomes invaluable. You begin to cherish small acts of kindness, a tender touch, a fleeting moment of sincere conversation, a costly present, even though you know these signs reveal his attachment to a possession rather than a true regard for your humanity. Some boys crumble under this weight, growing more frantic as they strive to maintain their value. They volunteer for increasingly humiliating tasks, engage in ruthless competition with fellow captives, or simply collapse beneath the strain of upholding an unattainable level of perfection. Others, like you, develop a form of stoic resilience, fulfilling your role with practiced skill while attempting to uphold a thread of dignity. The most insidious element of the system is how it ensnares victims in their own exploitation. You become adept at predicting your master's wishes, take pride in your ability to satisfy, and vie with other boys for the honor of service. The training is so exhaustive that you absorb not only the behaviors, but also the beliefs of your captors, evaluating your value by their criteria and defining your identity through their approval. Years of this existence foster a deeply ingrained Stockholm syndrome so profound that freedom becomes not only unattainable, but also unimaginable when you occasionally encounter tales of slaves who tried to escape. Your immediate response is not admiration, but confusion. Where could they have possibly gone? How might they have survived? What new identity could they adopt beyond the roles they were taught to perform? The system not only confines your body, but also invades your imagination, making any thought of life beyond captivity essentially impossible. Still, even within this all-encompassing structure, small acts of defiance remain feasible. You keep fragments of your original language, though you never speak it openly. You safeguard memories of your family, even if you rarely allow yourself to recall them. Most importantly, you hold on to the understanding that your current existence is not the only identity available, even if imagining a concrete alternative feels out of reach. The end, when it finally comes, arrives with the same indifferent efficiency that defined your entry into this life. Your master's focus has shifted towards younger acquisitions, and as you near physical maturity, you become less fitting for the role you have held. There is no grand confrontation or emotional goodbye, just a quiet discussion with Alexandros about your next placement. The master has made arrangements for your future. The mission, Alexandros explains with the same detached professionalism that has marked your entire training. You will receive a modest inheritance, along with recommendations for employment in a senatorial household. Your education and department shape your suitability for roles that involve administration or teaching. There is a cruel irony in the fact that your exploitation has given you abilities that are highly valuable in legitimate settings, but only because you developed these skills through many years of mistreatment. Your background in languages, literature, and social etiquette opens opportunities, yet each chance serves as a reminder of the harsh methods through which you obtained your qualifications. Your flawless manners and natural respect for authority make you an ideal subordinate. But these behaviors were instilled in you through intense psychological conditioning. Freedom, in your experience, feels less like true liberation and more like displacement. After many years of having every moment controlled and every choice made on your behalf, the burden of making independent decisions becomes daunting. You have been so thoroughly trained to anticipate others' needs that recognizing your own desires almost feels impossible. The world beyond the villa is enormous and filled with possibilities, but you lack the necessary framework to navigate it as a free individual. The other boys you left behind embody the range of paths you might have followed. Some will adapt well, turning their survival skills into genuine achievements, while others will struggle to adjust, unable to operate without the structure that once defined them. A few may never leave, remaining in roles like Alexandros, ultimately becoming part of the very system that shaped them. As you leave the villa for the final time, you carry with you more than just the skills and knowledge that will shape your future. You bear the wounds, both visible and hidden, that will never completely heal. Your story becomes one among thousands that Rome's historians chose to overlook, voices muted by a society that preferred to celebrate its grandeur rather than confront its guilt. The empire responsible for this system eventually collapsed, but not before many generations of boys like you were caught in its relentless machinery of desire. Their names vanish into obscurity, their experiences relegated to mere annotations within grand tales of conquest and cultural triumph. Yet their pain was genuine, their endurance extraordinary, and their histories warrant remembrance as more than the cost of Roman luxury. Ultimately, you emerge both as a victim and a survivor, shaped by forces beyond your control but not wholly defined by them. The boy taken from a Celtic hillside and the man who later stepped free from a Roman villa remain linked by an unbroken thread of identity, a connection that no amount of training could ever fully sever. Though fragile at times, that thread symbolizes the essential core of human dignity that even the most advanced systems of exploitation fail to destroy entirely. Now, the marble corridors stand empty, the golden gates have crumbled, and the empire that made such oppression commonplace has long turned to dust. But in remembering these stories, their truth endures. These overlooked voices deserve recognition when considering the human toll behind what history often praises as the triumphs of civilization. We pay tribute not only to their pain, but also accept our duty to identify similar patterns whenever they appear in our present day. The faces may shift, the tactics might change, yet the core truth stays the same. Those holding power find ways to take advantage of those who lack it, especially when youth and beauty come into play. Their hidden lives were never really concealed. Rather, they were dismissed by those unwilling to acknowledge them. By sharing their experiences now, we ensure their suffering is not completely in vain, and possibly, in some measure, help stop others from following down those shadowed hallways leading to doors that should never be opened for children under any circumstances.